right, Facebook Live, take two. Take two. We're going to see if this is going to work now. Take two. Facebook Live, take two. Says we are live. Hopefully everybody can hear and see well out there. So this is the 22nd anniversary. I always hated saying that, anniversary. Anniversaries are like usually weddings and, you know, good news, but in this case it's a sad anniversary, not only for 9/11 victims and their families who we think about today. That was a horrific day for the whole world, for America, New York, and all the families involved. And Facebook is telling me that the frame rate is too low. Please send, yeah, whatever. Okay, forget that mess. Action needed. Okay, well, we're going to go with it anyway. But this is also a sad day for Zachary Bernhardt, who's now been missing for 22 years. He went missing. We're going to see if I can get some photos up here. Not sure if it's going to let me do that, but he's been missing for 22 years now. And I'm trying to get some pictures up here, but Facebook is not allowing me to do it, unfortunately. Let's see here. We got a little age progression here. I don't know if y'all can see this, but if not, in any case, we'll go with the timeline here. So Zachary goes missing September 11th of 2000, and the time that he went missing is up for great debate. The narrative, what we've been told, is that the 911 call was placed around 4:47 a.m. by his mother. And the story goes that she was up all night, couldn't sleep, decided to go out for a walk and a quick swim at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so she goes out for a walk, take the trash out, doesn't lock the door, and then goes for a quick swim, which she later told police that she never does, where she apparently jumped in the pool and swam from one side to the other, came back. She goes in the house, she goes upstairs to take a shower, and when she comes out of the bathroom, she realizes that Zach is no longer sleeping on her bed. So she says that she had put him to sleep that night on her bed, upstairs, because he wanted to sleep with her. He's 8 years old, okay? And there's a lot of problems with this story. Now, Protect Your Children Inc. is not accusing anybody of anything. We'll get that out right in the front. What we were trying to do is raise awareness and try to get to the bottom of what actually happened. A lot of people have crucified the mother on social media. We understand that because certainly the stats show that when kids go missing, the first place that everybody looks is to the family. So we have a situation where we have a story that's questionable. Okay, opinion is that it's very questionable. She didn't lock the door when she went out. Now, Zachary and his mom lived alone in this apartment in Clearwater, Florida. They had a little dog. This little dog would bark, and every time it hears something, as dogs do. So basically what we're having to believe is that she went out for 15 minutes, and in that 15-minute window, a stranger, who I guess happened to be watching the apartment all night, I guess, saw her leave, went and checked the door. Oh, look at that, it's unlocked. Knows to go in the house, up the stairs, to her bedroom, takes Zach off the bed, carries him out of the house, and disappears into the night. The dog does not bark at the stranger. There's no screaming. There's no sign of breaking and entering. There's nothing. There's just nothing. And Leah comes back, and Zach's gone. That's it. She starts going to the neighbors, going to the babysitter that, you know, lived right near there. Is Zach here? Is Zach? No, Zach's not anywhere. Okay. So she eventually calls 911. Her son's missing. She can't find her son. She left the door unlocked in the middle of the night. He's gone. Okay? That's the story. That's the official narrative. Most of the family, and we will say not all, but most of the family believes this story. They believe her, and they believe that story, and that's the story that they're talking about. Now, we will tell you that not all the family believes this. We're not going to get into specifics of who and who does and who doesn't, because that's all part of what we're looking into. But there's a great divide among the family. Some believe that she knows more about what happened. Others believe that she's telling the absolute truth, and that some predator happened to be watching Zach maybe for days and knew that Leah was up at nights and just waited for her to go out of the house and got lucky because the door was open. Okay, sure. Is that a possibility? Yeah, it's a possibility. It's a very slight possibility. But it could happen, right? Now, the problem with the story is that we have heard from neighbors and other people within the complex that this pool was locked all night. It locked at 10 p.m. every night. So in order for Leah to go for a swim, she would have had to basically hop over the fence. Now, also, no bathing suit, no towel, fully dressed. So, now look, maybe they didn't lock the pool that night. Maybe the pool was unlocked. We'll give her that. Maybe the pool was unlocked. She said she didn't like to swim, but maybe she did. Okay, maybe she just liked to go for a swim. Okay. Neighbors have reported seeing her car coming and going all night. Okay, there was a neighbor who was having a barbecue that night. She had a whole bunch of people over. A lot of them didn't leave until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And neighbors had reported seeing her car coming and going throughout the night. Now, if we're to believe them, that sheds a little shade on Leah's story. Now, Zach goes missing. Police come out. They bring the dogs. They bring everybody. They're on a full-on search looking for Zach, okay? They apparently checked the dumpsters. They checked the water around the area. They checked the apartment. They checked for his scent. There apparently is no scent of Zach past the apartment. They searched for DNA. They said there's no DNA that in the apartment that didn't match somebody who was expected to maybe be at the apartment. Okay, so there's no evidence that a stranger went in and took Zach, but that's what people think happened. Some people say maybe he woke up that early in the morning, my mom's not here, and he went outside to look for her. Okay, you're 8 years old. You gonna go walk outside in the middle of the night and go look for your mom? We don't think that's possible. Okay, so if that's the case, and her story holds water, then we have to go along with the idea that some predator was stalking the child, waited for her to leave, goes upstairs, past the barking dog, goes to the bedroom, takes Zach off the bed, brings him down the stairs, out the door, and disappears. And that's what we know. Okay. Now, the police did some extensive investigative work for a while. And they spoke with the mom, they spoke with the neighbors, they did their due diligence, at least at the beginning. Okay? Now, the mom recounts her story about what happened. Listen, how do you disprove that story? Or how do you prove the story? You really can't. It's an interesting one, right? But nobody saw anybody go in. The dog didn't bark. There's no DNA. The door was left unlocked. And we're talking about in a 15-minute window. Now, is that enough time to go in and grab a child? Sure enough is. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. So let's go down the road. If he was taken by this predator, let's go down that road for a minute and say, for what purpose? For what purpose? Okay. The number one thought out there is that it was a sex trafficking situation. That he was taken and then either sold into sex trafficking, God help the child if that happened. And that was the route that it went. Now, if that's the case, then he could be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, really. You know? Excuse me for 1 second. Hey, shut up. It's my cat. Snickers. Yes, she's trying to put her input. Be quiet before I put you in the closet. Any case, so sex trafficking, that is the one theory, okay? Now, there's a lot more in this case. Right now I'm showing live, one viewer live. So I wish there was a way you can let me know if you can hear this well, if you can see this well, if the screen share is working. There's no chat. Let me see if I can get... Okay, there we go. We got somebody here. Stacy. Thank you. Stacy, are you still on? If you are, hey, post something. She said, weird, Facebook wasn't letting me see this video. Yeah. If you guys have been following us for any amount of time, you know that we have had battles with Facebook. We have had battles with Facebook. They are killing our distribution. They are trying to force us to pay for ads. Our posts are reaching 30 people and we have 5,000 followers. So this is definitely a rough situation. I'm going to type something in here. Can anyone hear and see this? Okay. Let's see what we got. All right. So if we have the sex trafficking idea. So somebody comes in, they grab them out of nowhere. Leah doesn't know who it was. Nobody knows anything. Zach disappears, and they're 22 years later, they're still looking for him. Okay, we go down that road. Now, if that's the story, it doesn't explain a lot of the information that has come about. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, and honestly, we're very shocked at how many followers of ours don't even know our website. Okay, now a lot of this is Facebook's issue, right? Because Facebook's not pushing our posts out to people. But a lot of our followers, 5,000, and most of them don't even know our website, haven't even visited it, okay? Didn't know we have videos, podcasts, didn't know we had a YouTube channel, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, right? But we have all of that stuff. And we've been following the Zachary Bernhardt case for, honestly, the directors have been following it since it happened. But we've been raising awareness on it for the last 2 years, a little over 2 years. And we have done extensive social media blasts on this case. And when I say we've received 500 comments from people, we have. When I tell you we've received 15 to 20 direct private messages from people that either knew the family or lived in the complex and had other information, we have. We've received a lot of information. Now, anything that has not been relayed to the police, anything that we confirm hasn't been relayed to the police, it has been relayed, okay? So we will keep them in the loop on everything. So what we have is a lot of people saying there's no way that this predator story is true. Okay? Lots of background on Leah, on issues with the family. Okay? There's talk of drug addiction, partying. Okay? Now again, we can't confirm that. We can only look at the facts and say, yes, Leah was evicted like 10 different times. She was on the verge of being evicted again, and that's very strange with all of this. 6 days before Zach disappeared, Leah, the mother, had gotten a eviction notice. So they were being evicted. And 6 days later, Zach disappears. We think that's very strange. The timing of that is very strange. So they were on the verge of eviction again. So there was definitely some reason why the bills couldn't get paid. Apparently, Leah was working. We don't know what that is. So some of the stories that we've heard, and this is what the public is telling us, people that claim to know Leah, we have no reason to believe these people are lying, but we also don't know them personally, so we can't verify that everything's 100% the truth. Just putting it out there. Because the reality is that, thanks to Facebook, we're going to have to promote this and get it out to tons of people. But we're looking for more information. We need more information. We need people that knew Leah. We want to hear from family members, friends, old co-workers, people that used to party with her, whatever, neighbors. If you'll reach out to us privately through direct message, we will communicate back with you. Now, most people would say, hey, it's been 22 years, the kid is probably dead by now, why is everybody still even looking, right? I'll tell you why. Because story after story, time after time, there are people that have been missing for 20, 30, even 40 years, and they are found, right? So there is absolutely no reason to give up hope. There's no reason to believe that he's dead, so we will continue to look. We'll be committed to looking, and we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop until he's found or some kind of closure has happened on this case. Right? We'll continue to raise awareness, let the public know, and keep Zachary's name in the minds of people. Okay? Let's check the chat here. Let's see. Stacy said, I'm here. When I clicked on the video, it sent me somewhere else 3 times. That is weird. See, that is very strange. Stacy, were you able to see a screen share? Did we click on this right here and say we bring up one of Zach's photos? Please let us know in the chat if you can see these photos, because it's supposed to be sharing the screen, but knowing Facebook, it probably isn't. So here's what's happening. The first thing that was alarming to us was there was a YouTube channel, and I want to, hopefully we can find out if this is screen sharing or not. Let's see if she'll let us know. Stacy, let us know if you can see that screen share that we just did. It's supposed to be sharing this tab right here. I want to be able to see if you can see that, because that's kind of a big part of this live. All right, we'll try to hear back from that. Now, so the first thing that happened was we came across a YouTube channel called Leberg, L-E-B-U-R-G-H, Leberg, right? Okay, sounds French, right? French, hey, France. And it was very interesting because when we went and clicked on Leberg's channel, there were 3 playlists on the YouTube channel. There was parodies about Justin Trudeau. He's the head honcho up there in Canada. There was like cooking recipes for like chicken or something, right? And then there was a playlist that just said, hey Google, play Gloria. It's all it said. It's all it said. Hey, play Gloria. So that's kind of strange, right? Well, anybody who's been around for a while knows there's a song called Gloria. And the lyrics in that song are very creepy when you think about it. So, you know, some of the lyrics are... Okay, so the song is apparently about a woman who's like basically a prostitute. Okay? And she's going from guy to guy to guy to guy, and then she's trying to get out of the lifestyle. She's trying to hide, but she thinks everyone loves her because of the stuff that she's doing. And, you know, so the lyrics in the song, in fact, I want to pull up the song lyrics really quick here. I want to get this right. This is going to be mind-blowing. Let's see. The song is Gloria by Laura Branigan, okay? Check this out. Now remember, Leberg, okay? Roll with that for a second, Leberg. We click on the thing and he's got this playlist that just says, hey Google, play Gloria, that's it. So some of the lyrics are, Gloria, you're always on the run now. Running after somebody, you gotta get them somehow. You better slow down before you start to blow it. I think you're heading for a breakdown, okay? The chorus says, you really don't remember. Was it something that he said, or was it the voices in your head? Don't you think you're fallen? And if everybody wants you, then how come nobody's calling? You can leave them hanging on the line. You don't have to answer. What you really don't remember is it's something that they said. Okay? Check this out. Gloria, how's it going to go down? Will you meet him on the main line? Will you catch him on the rebound? Will you marry for the money, take a lover in the afternoon, Do you feel your innocence slipping away? Don't believe it's coming back soon. Gloria, I think they got the alias that you've been living under, but you really don't remember. Was it something that they said? Or was it the voices in your head? In any case, that really struck us kind of strange. Because, think about it, if you have a child who's missing, and potentially someone, that might know about it, okay, then those lyrics are kind of weird. Can you feel your innocence slipping away? Maybe they found the alias that you've been living under, but if everybody loves you, how come nobody's calling you? Kind of strange, right? So in any case, we did a social media blast because we kind of thought that Leesburg was possibly an abbreviation for Leesburg. That's Leesburg, Florida. Okay? Leesburg, Florida. Now that's not far outside of Orlando. Zachary has his family living in Orlando. There have been reports and sightings of Zachary in Orlando. Okay? So we decided to do a social media blast in that whole area about Zachary's case. Would you know that 2 days after that post went live, we went back to Leesburg's channel, and guess what's gone? Guess what's missing? The playlist with Gloria. Very odd. Very, very strange. The other two, Justin Trudeau's stuff, the recipes, still there, but the Zachary connection, we feel, the song Gloria playlist had disappeared off of Leesburg's channel. 2 days after the post went live in that area. No coincidence. We feel like the person that runs that channel was saying something about having that song up there. And when we did that blast saying, hey, we're out there looking for information on Zachary, all of a sudden that playlist disappears. So there have been situations like this that have come up. Now someone can say, that's a coincidence. Maybe it's a coincidence, right? Sure, coincidence. We'll go with that, right? How many coincidences before you start to realize that something might exactly be connected to the case? That's the question. So right now we have no live viewers. No live viewers. That could be Facebook issue, could be that there's nobody's around, or it could be that no one cares. We're not sure. But in any case, we're going to keep going. We must roll on. So we thought that was kind of strange. Leesburg. Okay, the playlist disappears. So we continued to do social media advertising, promoting Zachary Bernhardt's case, the information, asking for information. We promoted all over Clearwater, promoted all over Orlando, and the surrounding areas. The response we got was just overwhelming. The response was incredibly overwhelming, almost too much to keep up with. The private messages, the comments, it was incredible, right? The response from the public, how many people that remember this child and remember this case and have a bad taste in their mouth about this case was mind-blowing. So we continued to press on and keep searching, keep putting information out there. We did YouTube videos and promoted those. We did Facebook posts and ads and promoted those. We promoted stuff on Twitter, right? We did a lot to get information. So as the time goes on, there were a few more strange things that came about, okay? We found out more information about Savannah Trace, which was the apartment complex that Zachary allegedly was taken from, okay? And we say allegedly because we don't know if he walked off or he was taken or if he was brought somewhere from the apartments. We don't know the whole case. But he disappeared from Savannah Trace Apartments in Clearwater, Florida. Okay. Now, he disappears. Okay. Now, what we did was we started asking for information. Anybody, residents, neighbors from Savannah Trace. Someone reached out to us connected to the second boy. A lot of people don't realize this. There was a second boy that was taken from Savannah Trace Apartments on the New Year's Eve following Zachary's disappearance. Okay? This boy, thank God, was later found 90 miles away. But the mother of that second boy reached out to us privately, and she said, I want to tell you the whole story of what's going on. She says, there's something going on with Savannah Trace. You need to know about it so you can get more context on Zachary. Okay, let's hear you out. We were able to verify that the person we're speaking to is who she said she was. Okay, so that's true. And our heart goes out to her because her little boy, I believe he was 5 at the time, was taken off the playground at Savannah Trace. And again, this is like New Year's Eve after Zachary had been taken. He was found, like I said, 90 miles later or something like that. But the trauma is still amazing. You can't even imagine, right? So we talked to her for a bit, and she let us know that Savannah Trace Apartments was being sued by the family of the second boy. Because apparently after Zachary disappeared, there were supposed to be some security changes put in place at Savannah Trace Apartments. Security, more cameras, maybe closing one of the exit gates. There was supposed to be more protection put in place to protect kids from being taken. Now, Savannah Trace Apartments is it's really right on Highway 19, right off the highway. It's in a busy area. It's in an area that's really known for sex trafficking. So those apartments, they were in a dangerous place. Okay? Now, the apartment is no longer called Savannah Trace. It's called like the Standard or something now. Of course, they changed their name. So we looked into that as well. Why did they change their name? Well, the mother of the second boy told us that there was a lawsuit, which we were able to verify happened, against Savannah Trace. And part of the lawsuit from the family of the second boy that was taken was that the security that was supposed to be put in place after Zachary disappeared was not done, and therefore that led to the second boy being taken. Now, Savannah Trace lawyers were in court, and we heard this right from the mom of the second boy. The lawyers made the case that Zachary's disappearance was not a random thing. They, according to those lawyers, and this is all what we were told, okay, we haven't been able to speak to the lawyers to verify all this, so we're repeating what we heard from the mom of the boy. The lawyers said that Zachary's disappearance was not random. It was not due to a lack of security in the complex. And in fact, that there was some kind of an arrangement made between the mother and another person to have Zachary picked up from the complex and taken from there to look like a kidnapping. Basically a hoax kidnapping. Now, this is what apparently Savannah Trace was saying. Okay? And their defense was, hey, we don't have to increase the security. It wasn't our responsibility. Savannah Trace representatives had said there were some drug connections. There was issues of drug money. There was some issue of the mom owing money for drugs. And again, it's all allegedly. We're not saying that this actually happened. That she allegedly owed money for drugs. She couldn't pay it. Zachary was in danger. She was getting evicted. So some deal was made that her drug debts would be forgiven if she just let Zach go stay with somebody in the family. Okay? That was the story. Now, the outcome of that lawsuit, we're not sure exactly how it happened, but we can tell you that Savannah Trace, the people that own Savannah Trace Apartments no longer own it. So there was a change of hands, a change of name, and everything. So there was definitely an outcome of that lawsuit from the family of the second boy that was taken. Okay? So, that's interesting. Because that was their defense. That they knew, that they had knowledge that Zachary's mom was involved with some drug-related issues, and that getting rid of Zach was a way to make that go away. Now you'd say, okay, if that's the case, and again, we're not saying it is, if that's the case, then that makes sense with the kidnapping, right? Because you have to explain where he went. You have to explain why he disappeared. So, according to those voices, she arranged behind the scenes, possibly with some other members of the family, to have Zach taken and then play it off as a kidnapping. Now, along with that, she got money, she got support, she got attention, she got to stay in the apartment for longer. All those things came about from that. Now, again, this is all allegedly. We're not saying Leah, his mother, did any of this, for the record. But this is one of the thoughts. Okay? This is what Savannah Trace's lawyers and representatives were saying actually happened. How much truth is there to that? How did they know that? We don't know. But that's something that has to be considered. Okay? Now, if we go down that road, we go down the road of this, where drugs may have been involved, Zach gets sent away somewhere to go stay with somebody, it's all hush-hush, it looks like a kidnapping, it looks like he just disappeared. And just checking the comments here. Again, no live viewers. There may be an issue with the live stream, but hopefully it's still recording this and it can be watched on replay. So if we go down the line of the drug connection. So let's just go down this fantasy line, okay? It's fantasy. We're not saying this happened. Let's just say Zach gets sent off with some family member somewhere. They're hiding him. They're going to get him somewhere where he'll never be found, maybe change his name, whatever. Okay? So then he becomes now safe. There's tons of police presence all over Savannah Trace. These dealers aren't going to even dare to come near Leah. And it looks like the problem would be solved, right? So that's the theory on that side of it. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit. Because that's all fine and dandy. That's okay, that's a theory. Alright? Let's fast forward to a year ago. Now again, protectyourchildren.org. Protectyourchildren.org. We have videos, reports about Zachary, and a whole bunch of other great stuff on our website, protectyourchildren.org. So please check it out. Our YouTube channel link is also on our website, along with Facebook, Twitter, and all other social media. Now, let's go about a year or so ago. Let's go back and check out another situation. There was a man on YouTube called Officer UFO. Woo! Officer UFO. Now, he doesn't really spend time looking at UFOs, okay? It's just a strange channel name. I've had the opportunity to talk with him extensively. And he put out a video about Zachary Bernhardt. Okay? Some new information. And he claims that a friend of his, okay, who was a security guard at Lockheed Martin, came to him and said, hey, guess what? I know for a fact that Zachary was staying with a guy named Tim who lived in Orlando, Florida. Whoa, wait a second, when was this, right? Apparently this was 2015. That would be 15 years after Zach went missing. Okay? So he hears the story, and basically the guy said that he was referred to Zach by a former friend of his that worked at Lockheed Martin over in Orlando, interesting enough. And that this guy, Zach, was staying with Tim in Orlando and was working for Tim, doing work for Tim, and staying at his house for about a year. And the strange thing is that the guy that's reporting this, well, he does construction, okay? So he had been asked by Tim if he could do some work on Tim's house. Apparently they were going to turn a garage into a living space, like an apartment. And he asked the guy, hey, can you do that? And the guy says, sure, I can do that. So he goes over to the guy Tim's house, and Tim says, let me introduce you to somebody. This is Zach. Now, at the time, this security guard, he did not know that he hadn't heard the Zachary Bernhardt case. It didn't register in his head. He didn't know he was a missing kid. So he says, hey, introduce you to this guy named Zach. He meets Zach. He starts talking with him. Apparently there was some discussion about getting some weed to smoke, some drugs to smoke together. Tim says that Zach could connect them with drugs, okay, because he had connections. So They agree to get some stuff to smoke. Zach gets on his phone. He contacts his drug dealer. Hey, we need some of this stuff. Can you bring it over? Okay. The dealer comes. He brings the drugs. And then after the guy leaves, this security guard is talking to Zach, and Zach says, hey, you should save my name in your phone as a future contact for if you need some more drugs. Security guard says, okay, good idea. Let me put your phone number in here. And security guard realizes he had more than one Zach in his phone. So he asks, what's your last name? The person says, Bernhardt. And then he quickly said, oh, and I wasn't supposed to tell you that. And security guard says, well, what do you mean? And this Zach person says, you mean you don't know? Now, that's mind-blowing. This is 2015. Okay? So, Officer UFO and the security guard and others report this information to the police. Now, what happened was, it was a few years later before this even came up, because you say, wait, that was 2015, 2016. Okay, it's 2021. Why so much time goes by, right? Since all this happens. Well, truth is, it was 2018 when all this took place. So he knew that Zach was staying there 2015, 2016. 2018, the security guard is watching TV, and this is according to his story. He finds I think it was ID Discovery or Missing, one of those programs, and they were talking about Zachary Bernhardt's case. And so the security guard's like, wait a second, Zachary Bernhardt, that's the name wow, it looks like it could be him. Hey, you might have been staying with this, that could be the same guy, right? So security guard at that point calls the police and says, hey, I think your missing child was staying over here with this guy Tim, okay, in Orlando. Gives him the full report, doesn't get much information back, doesn't get a call from the detectives or nothing, or apparently there was some phone tag and then that was the end of it, which is strange because you'd think they'd run right out to his house and want to talk to him, but they didn't, apparently. So, interesting enough, in March of 2018 is when the security guard contacts the police and gives them all the information about this guy Tim. First name, last name, where he lives. He says, go check it out. Okay? Now, excuse me. There we go. That was my cat. She's in heat, so you can imagine. All right, now, so in March 2018, it was kind of crazy, right? But hey, got to get rid of her. She's too noisy. I mean, closet for now, not get rid of her. So 2018, police get notified. Hey, Zachary Bernhardt, this guy told me this is what his name. Here's the number he gave me. Gives all the information to the police. Okay, the security guard doesn't hear a follow-up. But interesting enough, you know what happens 6 days after security guard goes to the police? The guy Tim, he's dead. Again, we've been able to verify he died. Verified on the day that we were told he died. There's an obituary out there, but no cause of death. We don't know what the cause of death was. But again, strange, right? You have 6 days before Zach disappears, there's an eviction notice. Okay? 6 days after the police are notified about this guy Tim and that Zach may have been staying with him, Tim's dead. Strange, right? So you think, man, now there's another, no pun intended, dead end. But think about this. That means that it would put Zachary Bernhardt, if this story is true, it would put Zachary Bernhardt living in Orlando 15, 16 years after he went missing. Now, he has family that lives in Orlando, in and around Orlando. So think about it. You go back to the theory of before, according to Savannah Trace, that there was some arrangement between Leah and some family members to get Zach out of there and make it look like he was taken, but really he was going to go stay with some family members and have a name change and hide out. That starts to make sense, right? He's in the Orlando area. We had the Leesburg guy, remember? Leesburg, who was in Leesburg, which is not far from that whole area, who all of a sudden takes down the song after we start promoting it. So security guard contacts the police March of 2018. 6 days later, the guy Tim that Zach apparently was staying with is now dead. I mean, this is like a horror movie, right? Now, how did Tim die? We don't know. I wish we could find that information out, but we can't. We're not authorized. Now, we would think that members of Tim's family, they happen to see this or follow the case at all, or a neighbor of Tim's. Hey, did you see someone that resembles the age progression for Zachary Bernhardt staying at this guy Tim's house on Broche Road in Orlando? Anything to put more validity to that story. But in any case, 15, 16 years later, could that have been him living in Orlando, not far from his family? It's a possibility. Now again, could security guard be making up the whole story? I mean, I guess so. I mean, that's pretty elaborate to come out of nowhere and just make up a story and implicate this guy Tim, who's now dead. I mean, that just doesn't seem very logical that they would just make up a whole story and try to tie him into a disappearance of a child, or harboring somebody who's missing. That doesn't seem very likely. So as far as we're concerned, that's a true story. And Zachary Bernhardt may have been staying with this guy Tim on Broche Road in Orlando 2015, 2016, 15 or 16 years after he went missing. Not far from family members that live out there, so that certainly makes you go, Now, again, police, FBI were notified about this. There's been zero follow-up. They won't comment because it's an open case. See, and you gotta love that. And listen, we understand kind of why you got to do that, because you don't really know who you're talking to and who you're dealing with, who might be involved, right? But the reality is that, if you follow up and you say, hey, whatever, did anything ever become of this lead in Orlando with this guy Tim, who's now dead? Did anything ever, was that a dead end? Did that end up somewhere? And they say, sorry, we can't comment, it's an open investigation. Where does that leave people that are trying to find him? Where does that leave us? Nowhere. But you would think and hope and pray that if it turned out to be something, that the police would have followed up on it. Now, that's 2018. Now, something interesting that happened. December of 2017, my memory serves me correctly, the police, FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, reissued an Amber Alert for Zachary Bernhardt. Went out to the phones, went to the billboards. Now, 17 years after his initial disappearance, why would they reissue an Amber Alert? Because they got some information. That's probably why. Some tips. Now remember, this is December of 2017. This other stuff with the guy Tim, who's now dead, happened in the first few months of 2018. Interesting, right? Something else interesting happened in December of 2017. Zachary's mother, Leah, who had went off to Hawaii, married off to a Marine Corps guy. Thanks for your service if you happen to be watching, which I doubt. Very honorable. Leah goes out to Hawaii. They're living, I guess, on the Marine Corps base out there. She's out there for years and years and years. Well, she comes back. She buys a house with the husband in December of 2017 in Orlando, 6 minutes away from where the guy Tim, who's now dead, lived, with allegedly Zachary Bernhardt. Just saying, you can't make this up. She buys a house 6 minutes away from where the guy Tim lived. And where the security guard claims that the guy that was living with Tim said his name was Zachary Bernhardt. And Tim's dead 4 months later, March of 2018. You can't make this stuff up. So Leah comes back to Florida, and then the Amber Alert gets reissued to the billboards and the phones. We don't know why. Again, it's an open investigation, so the police aren't saying anything. Obviously, there was no fruit from that. But what we can tell you is that locating any reports of Zachary Bernhardt after that time have become very difficult. Almost like if he was still in the area, living under an alias, hiding from the cops, whatever. Very hard to find. Now, let's take a sidestep. Some people say, why would Zach not just say, hey, I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm not missing. What's the problem? Right? Well, something interesting that security guard said. That before the security guard came over, Tim said he needed to talk to Zach and reassure him that said security guard was not a police officer, because when he drove around, he pulled up to Tim's house. You know, he's got the security car, and they get those from retired, you know, from, they're not retired vehicles, but you know what I mean. The police, when they don't use them anymore, they resell them. So Zachary had to be reassured that security guard was not an actual police officer. Zach apparently had told Tim that he was afraid of the police. He did not want to be found. Now again, if this story is true, then that means Zach is hiding on purpose. He's trying to not be found. Now that's a far cry from a child who was taken, sold into sex trafficking, is being forced and drugged and whatever, versus somebody who's grown up and is out there hiding in order to not be found for one or more reasons. Agreed? See, all this stuff is why we're not letting this go. There are too many things here that say there's more to this story. There's too many things that point to the fact that Zach may still be alive, and we believe he is. We personally believe he is living out there somewhere, off the grid, avoiding the police. People say, why would he do that? Well, that depends. Let's just say you're Zachary Bernhardt, and 15 years later, after you're missing or whatever, you cross paths with this guy Tim, and you're staying at Tim's house, and say Tim is exploiting you and using you to get drugs or whatever, and then the police get notified about Tim, and then Tim ends up dead. Do you think that would freak you out? That would put Zach at, what, 22, 23 years old at that point. Do you think it would have freaked him out? It'd freak me out. And again, after Tim dies, Zach disappears. We can't find any reports, anything that indicates he stayed in this area of Orlando after that time. He could be afraid. He may have been forced into some kind of sex trafficking or, doing sexual things. According to the security guard, Tim was exploiting Zach. Exploiting him for drugs and sex. If that's the case, I can understand it would be difficult for Zach to come forward. He's not going to want to tell that story, relive everything that he was put through, all that attention on him. And if Zach's afraid of who knows whatever, We're not saying Tim was murdered. We don't know how Tim died, but all we know is 6 days after the police were notified, Tim's dead. If Zach thinks Tim was taken out, then of course he's afraid. Of course he's not going to show up and say, here I am. So he's got a big crosshair on his back. Because what if he was involved in sex trafficking and drug dealing? What if he got out of that lifestyle, got away, escaped? And he's afraid that if the captors find him, they'll kill him. That's a possibility, right? Now, where does the family stand in all this? Well, like we said at the beginning, part of the family believes Leah's story, his mother. Every little bit of it. Oh, sure, it makes sense. You know, she couldn't sleep at night. She went out for a swim. She came back and he was gone. Someone must have stalked him and went upstairs, past the barking dog, carried him out of the house without screaming, kicking, yelling, and just disappeared. Half the family believes that. Half the family don't. Half the family thinks that she knows more and that she knows a whole lot more to what happened with the situation. And it's caused a great divide in their family. And we have heard this from family members who will remain anonymous by their request. It's broken up that family. But in any case, 22 years later now, Leah has clearly moved on with her life. She started an LLC, she's got this whole fitness thing going, and she's just married and has a daughter, and she never talks about him. She never talks about him. We think that's very odd. Would you ever stop talking about your child if they ended up missing? Well, you would under two circumstances. One, you convince yourself that he's dead and you just have to move on with your life. Or two, you know that he's not dead and that he's actually okay somewhere and you never talk about it. Or maybe three, you're involved somehow. We're not saying his mom is, but it's a theory. So if you look at the history of all the stuff that's taken place, there's indications that Zach stayed in this area for a very long time. All right, this is getting long, so we're going to fast forward to the end here. Where are we at right now? All right, where we're at right now with this is a while back, some of you may have seen this, someone reached out to us with a picture of a man in Mexico and said, this looks like the gringo, right? It's how the Mexicans, the white people, gringos, Americans, right? This looks like the person you're looking for. That look at the age progression and look at this guy. And so, we looked at the picture and we looked at the chin and we looked at the smile and the shape of the face and the blue eyes. And we say, damn, that's a striking resemblance to Zachary Bernhardt. So we start advertising and promoting stuff down in the area of Mexico and trying to get more information on this guy. And that was quite fun because none of us in the organization here speak fluent Spanish, but of course everything we were getting from people was Spanish and Espanol. So we're sitting here with Google Translate and we're like translating all this and trying to respond in Spanish to communicate with these people. But we had tremendous amount of information. In fact, we have made some good people, some good sources down there that have said, look, we're right here in these areas. If you need anything, make sure you reach out to us. They're good sources for us, and they live in the area of where this guy was at. So we're talking with them, and there were many people who had conversations with him. Now, apparently this guy is living homeless down there. He's kind of being taken in by this group of people that live in an area of Mexico not far from the border that is where criminals live. People that are escaping the law kind of live down there, and they all live kind of among themselves, and it's kind of a weird scenario. But basically he can stay down there without anybody recognizing him. That's kind of the idea. And so people have talked with him. They've given him food, given him water. He will not say his name, but what this person has verified is that at the time he was 28, okay, and this is going back a couple of years, so he's probably about 30, which is Zach's age now. He said that his family is dead, okay, but one of the striking things that he told somebody when they gave him some food was where he was heading, and he said he had to head that direction and avoid the authorities, because if the authorities found him, they would transport him to America because people are looking for him there. And he did not want to go back to America. He's hiding out in Mexico, this guy. Wow. That information, we know from two different people, was relayed on to the police department and the FBI. Again, no response on any kind of follow-up because it's an open investigation. Now, we've kept contacts with the people down there, and we're working on some logistics to pursue the next step. That we are keeping quiet. You say, why is that? Well, I know it sounds kind of funny because we're just kind of being sarcastic about the police, because an open investigation, they never know who they're talking to. The reality is, we don't know who's watching this. We don't know who's going to see the videos. We don't know what family members, if any were involved, are watching and following what we're doing. We don't know if the drug dealers that may have been involved or sex traffickers that were involved in the case are watching any of our stuff. We don't know. So we are not going to give off a location of where this homeless man is, and we're not going to broadcast what the steps are. Now, our goal is to confirm if it is him. And there's ways to do that. Now, the law says, as an organization, if we verify, either from him or some other source or means, that it is Zachary, we have to report that. We have to report that to law enforcement because there is an open investigation, and we will do what we need to do. At the same time, if this turns out to be Zachary Bernhardt down there in Mexico, and he fears that we're going to go to the police, he'll never say nothing. What is our goal? Our goal is to find out if Zachary's still alive and provide that closure. To say, look, he's no longer missing. Because you know what's happening? Not only Protect Your Children Incorporated, but a lot of other organizations and a lot of podcasters and crime shows are continually doing stuff. News broadcasts are spending money and time and prayers and emotions helping to look for him. If it turns out that this person is Zachary, then that means the child is no longer missing. Now, if he wants to stay down there in Mexico, listen, he's an adult at this point. That should be his right. We would hope that once law enforcement's notified that they would just, okay, they'll make an announcement, he's no longer found, Amber Alert closed, end of story, leave the guy alone. If that's what his desire is. But again, we don't know that this is him. It looks very similar. Some of the things that he said is very striking. One other thing that he said, and we're going to end here in a minute, one of the other things he told somebody was that he had came to Mexico through California. Wait a minute. California? Orlando, Florida, that's the other side of the country. What are you talking about? We found a connection with some family in an area of California, we'll just say, that's close to where this person said he was from. Okay, and there were also some listings for an alias, same age, in that area of California. So there is some indication that this person in Mexico may actually have been in California and that it could be connected to somebody in the family, in Zach's family. Let's just leave it at that. But again, Information is bits and pieces, and certainly as our duty, if we find out concrete evidence, tips, we will forward them on to the police as we are required to do. But that's the case. What's your thoughts? Heck, right now we've had one person watching this the whole time. Tracy said everything is good here. That's awesome, so she can hear. This live has been going on, gosh, how long now? Maybe like an hour. So we've had a couple people watching, but we're not going to give up, and we ask that you don't give up. It's amazing to us that we had some comments this morning from people that said, Zachary who? This is the first time hearing about this story. We've been following this for 2 years, 2.5 years, posting on our social media, posting on our website, posting on Facebook. But this goes back to Facebook. They're not letting people see. We're asking our followers, you got to go and check our page. Because apparently Facebook's not doing any favors to get the information out. But we are continuing to look for Zach. We're not going to give up. Today marks 22 years since he's been missing. We have no reason to believe he's dead. In fact, we have lots of reason to believe he's still alive. You know, and we feel like it's our duty to not give up on this child who's now a man. We're not going to give up. You know, it's like if we give up and stop looking, it's one of those things where you're asking yourself later on, could you have done more? And we don't know if Zach will ever see this or someone will show it to him. We don't know. We don't know if he's seen any of our posts. We have some idea that maybe he has because of the Lee Berg channel that we mentioned earlier, but that's another story. But we always say, look, Zach, if you're out there somewhere and you're under an alias and you're whatever and you see this, you are loved. We love you in this organization. We've been looking for you for years. You've got somebody out there. If there's anything we can do to help, we certainly will. We don't know the whole story, though. We don't know if there's fear. We don't know what the whole story is behind this. But clearly, we don't believe this was a case of some random person coming into an apartment at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in a 15-minute window, past a barking dog, and taking a child from an upstairs bedroom and going out the door. We just don't believe it. It may be true, but we don't believe it. We think it's very hard to believe. So that leads us to believe that there's something else here. That there's more people that know what happened to Zach. There may be family members that know more, friends that know more. And you know, we got to balance it out because part of it, the members of the organization here, we want to get pissed off and tell those people that know more to cut it out. You're playing with people's lives here. If you're out there and you know more about Zachary and you're not saying anything, you're costing people prayers, you're costing people emotions and tears and money because you're keeping your mouth shut. Yeah, that angers us. And again, we don't know that they do. But somebody knows more. And they're not saying anything. Maybe they're protecting their own arse. Okay? Hell, maybe they're protecting Zach. We don't know what the whole story is. But right now, there are people spending money and time and prayers and emotions looking for Zachary Bernhardt. This case is still open in Florida. It's the longest running Amber Alert in Florida. It's not considered a cold case, which we find is very interesting. They will not mark it as a cold case after 22 years. Wonder why that is. Because the police firmly believe that there's somebody out there, multiple people that know what happened to him, and maybe, just maybe, they'll speak. Send an anonymous tip. Do something. Because one day you'll meet your maker, and you're going to put in an account for this. We'll be able to say we did what we could. But if you're out there and you know more about this and you're not saying anything, you're going to answer for that. You think that's just a joke, but you will. Final thing to close this off. Grandmother said something very strange, and some of you, if you followed the videos and our posts, the grandmother did Disappeared was the name of the show, I believe, about Zachary Bernhardt. Same one that the security guard had saw. And she said something toward the end of that show which just sends chills down the spine. And the interviewer said to her, "So how do you get by? How do you do it?" And Zachary's grandmother proceeded to say, "I tell myself this. If you took my grandson to love him and raise him right, then that's good. But if you took him to harm him, then I wish he's dead." Is it just us that have a problem with that? First of all, I mean, I get it. If you think your grandson's being tortured or sold into sex, I mean, I get it. You just wish he's dead so he doesn't have to go through that pain. I get that part. But as grandma, if you believe the story that your daughter said, and you say you do, you believe that. So some predator stalked Zachary, came in the house in the middle of the night, passed the barking dog, went up to the second floor, took him out of your daughter's bed, and disappeared with him. And you're thinking, if you took my grandson to love him and raise him right. That is the furthest thing from anybody's mind, unfortunately. Who the hell is going to kidnap a child in the middle of the night after stalking them? Steal them from their mother so they can love him and raise him right. No, what this sounds like is maybe somebody was supposed to love him and raise him right. Going back to the theory of others. And it turned out that they used him in bad ways and exploited him. That's what it sounds like. But we don't know. Because it's an open investigation. But in any case, that's the timeline. That's the story. The one person that stuck with us through this whole live, thank you. I think it was 2. We had Tracy. We love you. You're always supporting us. Thank you, Tracy, for being there. Stacy as well. And we hope that this video will be seen. Probably we're going to have to throw out $100 to Facebook for them to get this video out to people. Because that's what they do to us. And it's funny because we haven't been promoting anything recently. And Facebook keeps sending us emails. Hey, you can reach a lot more people if you promote an ad today. Mm-hmm. yeah. They're like, hey, how come you're not spending all that money that you were spending? That's what they're doing. They're making sure our posts reach nobody. Our live doesn't get out to anybody except 1 or 2 people. And then they're saying, hey, you should spend more money. You can reach more people that way. But that's what they're doing. But listen, that's where we're at right now. We got 5,000 followers. Most of them don't ever hear anything that we say or do. They think we're doing nothing. But we're working every single day to keep kids safe. We're producing videos. We're posting stuff. We're doing research. Trying to keep kids safe from these predators and kidnappers online and in the community. So we're doing lots of work out there. We need all the support and the help we can get. So please share this live. Share it and talk to people. Post it on your social media. Zachary's not going to be forgotten about. Not as long as people like in this organization are alive. We will never give up. And we hope that you won't either. Still have to wonder if this is sharing anything. If it is, that's the guy, Tim, that Zachary allegedly was staying with in 2015, 2016. Interesting, right? He's now dead. So, but in any case, that's it for now. We thank you for watching and listening. Take care. God bless, and keep protecting your kids. Be nosy. Check their phones. Check their game systems. Keep your eye on them. Because these predators are tricky, and they know how to manipulate and groom kids. And parents, you're the line of defense to find out if that's happening before it's too late. So, thanks again. Take care.